the best horror movies of recent times. Let me guess, you think you're brave and horror is your thing? Well, turn the lights off, because I'll show you in this video the best horror movies of recent times. Hostel. A film about tourists being attacked on unknown lands would be nothing new. But what makes Hostel one of the movies that have scared travelers the most is the sadism behind the deaths. Any backpacker might identify with the context of the story, making it more frightening, because this is not about some exotic land where a monster, like Slasher, cuts people's throat. But quite the opposite. The director Eli Roth takes the main characters to a small European town where basic services are cheaper and women are beautiful. Does it ring a bell with you? Sure thing. With a rawness characteristic of Roth's films, the horror is spread by an organization of powerful psychopaths. They are such ordinary situations that they will make you wonder, could it happen in real life? From now on, I'm sure you'll take extra precautions before embarking on a trip with your friends to an unknown country. It Follows. It hasn't been a long time since It Follows amazed many young people, and it's still like new. This is because the plot is as disturbing as it is interesting.
Come from the dead, come back to tell you all. I shall tell you all.
In this terrifying movie, a dark entity scares anyone who has sex with the cursed person, and the main character has to run away from them for the same reason. It Follows was a business success with excellent reviews, and it is also considered one of the most renowned horror films of this century. What would you do to escape from an entity that's following you? Insidious. When was the last time that a scary face in a movie gave you nightmares? If that scared you, then you're not even close to the horror you will feel by watching this tape, because Insidious will keep you startled from the beginning to the end. This movie is about a family in which the child falls into a coma. Ever since, the family notices that something supernatural has moved to the house. Director James Wan, who made a name for himself in the horror world, has given us once again another frightening masterpiece of the genre that will certainly not let you sleep at nights. Do you agree? Hereditary. People say family is what really matters, but what if one of your relatives is possessed by a demon? Hereditary is the directorial debut of Ari Aster, and with this movie he will put you into a family that just lost the maternal granny. That is the starting point of sinister events which each member is involved in.
Just say it! Just fucking say it! Don't you swear at me, you little shit! Don't you ever raise your voice at me! I am your mother!
The movie's development is nothing compared to the trailer. The passing of time is slow, which creates a more tedious environment. Like, if you were caught, just imagine a nightmare about not being able to move. It was called by many as the 21st century Exorcist. Hereditary was a brilliant success and positioned Ari Aster as part of the new wave of horror. Saw.
I want to play a game.
But I don't. This is one of the most recognized franchises of modern horror, and has one of the most unexpected endings not only in horror, but in the history of cinema.
Game over.
Saw had a minimum budget of $1.2 million and low expectations, but it was a box office hit, becoming one of the most profitable horror films. It even brought one of the most famous horror characters, Jigsaw, who was responsible for creating the famous torture games, and how to forget his creepy way of introducing himself. Although nowadays the franchise is known for its ridiculous plot twist and weak excuses for deaths, the original version will always be remembered for making a milestone in modern horror. The the orphanage. First of all, being in an orphanage is already scary enough. Now imagine going back to the orphanage where you grew up, make it your home, and hear your son talking to people you can't see, and to cap it all, this happens to you. Spooky, right? Well, that's exactly the hell that the star of the orphanage has to go through, not to mention that her child goes missing without any trace and has no idea who or what has taken him. The successful box office grossed the spectacular amount of $80 million. In addition, The Orphanage became one of the most successful Spanish movies, nominated for 61 international awards, winning 31, including a Goya Award in Best Director. So the frights were worth it, I guess. Wreck. I will pretend for a moment that the American version of this movie never existed, okay? I better focus on the cultural impact that Wreck meant for horror films. Director Jaume Balagueró used the found footage style to take us into a building that would give anyone claustrophobia, where a group of journalists and firemen get locked up because a lethal virus has spread inside the building, so it was closed by the authorities. To make things worse, they didn't know that the virus turned the infected ones into hungry zombies craving for human flesh, so you will bear witness to their escape attempts. Without providing any moment of peace to viewers, Wreck became a blockbuster and started up the franchise of the same name. Get Out.
Get out. Sorry, man.
Okay.
Get out!
If I were you, I would listen to him, because that nice family hides a macabre secret. In Get Out, you will venture into a dense wooden zone where an Afro-American man has no idea what he's getting into at visiting his girlfriend's family, who, by the way, is a white woman. When he gets there, he realizes that something weird happens to the few Afro-American people in the place. And if you were part of the audience in theaters, I'm sure you realized very fast that those kind people hid something.
Rose?
In his directorial debut, Jordan Peele gave us a new perspective on horror through Afro-American culture. That's why this story was all a success. This movie gives you not only an interesting and fresh story, but also addresses social and racial issues that you can easily identify in society. Have you seen it already? Or would you get out? The Conjuring. If you are afraid of demons, I recommend getting away from The Conjuring as much as you can. Even more if I tell you that it's based on real facts. You will be witness to one of the most disturbing cases worked on by paranormal investigators Lorraine and Ed Warren, who went to the house of a family in New England. According to them, a demon was taking control of this family. In the first movie of the Conjuring franchise, director James Wan, who also directed the first movie of Saw, created a horror atmosphere full of hair-raising moments. This movie was a categorical blockbuster and began one of the most influential horror franchises of the day. I might only get into the family's shoes because I would never want a demon to visit my house. What would you do in this case? The Others. Shh. Be quiet, because you're not alone. Did you know that this iconic film was made thanks to Tom Cruise? Yes, Tom bought the film rights, and Nicole Kidman starred in it. The Others takes place in a remote mansion where Grace, played by Kidman, is a mother of two who suffers from light sensitivity. That's weird. Everything gets worse when some mysterious workers came to help with the big mansion, and inexplicable events start to happen there. Noises and hits are all over the house, and Grace has the mission of seeing what's going on. The Others was one of the most successful horror movies, grossing more than $200 million, and it was the most popular American and Spanish production so far. It was even nominated for a BAFTA, which is something unusual for a horror film. Great, you got to the end of the dark tunnel. So tell me, which one did you like the most? Did I leave any movie out? Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon for more shady experiences.